All right, everybody, we are live. Thank you so much for joining this week's Nearbound at Work session. Isaac's having a couple of technical difficulties, but he should be back on soon. I am here to introduce Darian. He's on the Reveal team, and he is going to be walking through 3 uses that you never thought of to use for Nearbound data. It's going to be really exciting. I'm super pumped for it, but I'll just let Darian take it away.
Okay, cool. Thanks for introducing me, Hope. Just a little bit more of an introduction on me. I am the head of full cycle sales here at Reveal. So that means what we're doing in this team is we're going from A to Z, top of pipeline, all the way to closing. And the reason why that's important for this specific session is because the value that these 3 use cases I'm going to present to you are mainly for teams that are very scrappy, right? Like you need to be working very fast and be able to work on leads in a very, growth hacker type of way. And so what I want to be able to do is show you guys how you can use revealed data to generate more pipeline for you without even having to use directly with partners. So we're going to get into that in a second. The other thing that's really cool about this is, doing sales all the time. I'm talking to people who are in the marketing department too. And so if you know anyone who's in the marketing department, this could be really interesting for them as well to kind of see how they can use Reveal for their use cases that is not relevant for what Reveal can do. Cool. So I'm going to get started. I think there's some technical difficulties. I think Isaac and Hope will be joining the call in a second. Hope I'm speaking to some people. I can't really see anyone on the other side, but we're getting started. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple of slides first, just to kind of set the stage real quick. And then this is going to be not a technical session, but more of a tactical session. So for those of you who are not very technical, that's totally fine. I'm going to show you exactly how you can use this. Oh, looks like we got Isaac coming in too.
Sorry about that. Darian, you had it all under control anyway. I just wanted to say welcome to the next session of Nearbound at Work. Every Wednesday, noon Eastern time, we are here, even if sometimes I get kicked off of the session somehow. And excited to let Darian run through everything here. So as always, we'll share the recording afterwards. I know a lot of people, especially we have people in France, it's a little bit late. 6 p.m. I'm in Paris today, actually, but we'll always share the recording, and you can pass those around. We'll always have those up on the landing page for Nearbound at Work. So anyway, go right ahead, Darian. It's all yours.
Cool. Thanks, Isaac. And yeah, I mean, coming all the way from France, so appreciate you being able to jump in from backstage anyways. So why don't we go ahead and get started, guys? We're already 7 minutes in. Just to set the stage a little bit, I kind of want to talk about what people do with the status quo of how they accomplish what they're doing inside their CRMs. So really the question is, what's the best way to import a list into my CRM? We'll talk about what lists mean in a second. But the way it's done today is you extract a CSV from my data provider. So maybe I just find like a list of random companies online. I get a list from one of my partners. I get a list of attendees from an event. I take that list, I import it directly into my CRM, and then I assign the leads to some sort of marketing campaign, or I add a tag to it. Ideally, my MDR or my SDR or my AE finds these leads and is able to start some sort of outreach campaign to this list of leads. But there's a lot of problems with this process. One is there's no really good way to prevent dupes. Either you create dupes and what I mean by dupes is duplicates inside of your CRM, or people are just going to go ahead and have a manual, scrape through the list and see which of these people are already in our CRM and who are not. How do you segment these accounts by priority? How do you know which of these accounts that you're reaching out to or have in this list are already your customers so that you don't reach out to them with a prospecting type of outreach? How do you report and track on the success of this campaign? And then how do you make sure that this data doesn't fall into some sort of black hole and that you can use this data in future initiatives or even just have it somewhere stored so that AEs, SEs, SDRs can use it at a later date?
Hey, Darian, before you switch to the next slide, could you hit slideshow so that we can actually see that one a little bigger?
You're totally right. My
That'd
screen
be awesome.
really
There
doing. I
we
didn't
go.
think about that.
All right. If you wouldn't mind
Cool.
leaving it on there for a second, so people want to look at that real quick since it was a little bit small.
Yeah, go back. Cool.
Yep.
So yeah, just went through the top two sections. One is the way it's done today, and then the last one is why that doesn't work right now. So trying to find a new way to solve this problem. So I'll skip ahead. This isn't the most important slide, and honestly, no one really likes slides anyways. We want to get into the demo. So what are the three main uses I see out of this? One is I'm thinking about attending an event. And so how can I get a list of event attendees or event sponsors, import that into an account mapping tool like Reveal, and then determine based off of the data that you're going to gather from Reveal, should I actually go to this event? Should I sponsor it myself? And should I spend money on it? And if I go to this event, are there going to be prospects there? Are those prospects going to have open opportunities? Will there be customers at that event? And if so, which one of my reps should I send there? Is there one rep that has 95% of all the prospects there because they're vertically integrated? And then also another interesting use case, bringing back to partners, is are there partners that I think might be most relevant to come with me to the event because they also have them as customers or they also have open deals with this specific list of attendees? The other use case is thinking about exploring a net new vertical. So instead of extracting a list of attendees to an event, what you're doing is you're actually extracting a list from maybe a data provider like an Apollo or a ZoomInfo, and you're trying to find all companies above 500 employees, below 1,000 employees that are inside of the banking industry. This isn't an industry you haven't had much success in, but you've had a couple of customers here. You can import that data into Reveal to get a really good idea as to how have I performed in this vertical so far? Are there specific reps that I think might be relevant to pilot it? And do we have any customers that we can start off with to maybe have some use case stories, user stories that we can give our reps more ammo as we start to go into this vertical? And then the last is really whatever your heart desires. There's really good examples of doing this for targeted account lists and ABM account lists. There's also really good examples for taking any list from online. You'll see in a second. I actually just just asked ChatGPT to give me a list of 100 of the Forbes top 100 companies best places to work. And yeah, there's also one last thing that I'll show you guys at the end, how you can go ahead and scrape lists from your competitors' events too. Cool. Awesome. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? And Isaac, I guess I'll pause there for a second. Do you think there's any questions we should do before I get started?
I don't think so. And anybody, if you have questions as we go, just hit them in the chat, and we'll jump on them. So don't feel like you can't interrupt. So, no, I love it. I think it's great summary of and getting into. Let's just get into how you actually pull it off. Let's go.
Okay. Cool. Let's go. All right. So just to get started, let's start with the spreadsheet first. So this I pulled into a Google Sheet, a list of companies. As I mentioned earlier, I just went on ChatGPT and I said, GPT, please give me a list of companies that were the Forbes top 100 companies, best places to work. I don't know if this is accurate, so don't quote me on this, but at least we've got 100 companies that we can show for you guys today. So when you want to prepare this list into Reveal, you're going to need at least 3 columns. The first column being company name. You're going to need the websites for all these companies. And then you're going to need a third column called company status. You don't actually need to fill anything inside this, just leave it blank, but you at least need to have the column to import and reveal, and I'll show you why in a second. This is what's required to import a CSV file into Reveal. But if you wanted to import a Google Sheet directly into Reveal, what you're going to want to do is have another column over here. Typically, you can call this like unique ID, whatever you want to. I put it in as Forbes ranking because this is the ranking that GPT gave me. But just so you know, whenever you import inside of a G Sheet, you always need to have a fourth column called unique ID. So we're going to do a CSV file today to keep it simple, but always recommend using a G Sheet if you can, because that data is dynamic inside of Reveal. So now that we've got these 3 columns in place, what I'm going to want to do is actually go ahead and download this as a CSV file. So I'm downloading here. Cool. It's downloaded down there. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but what I'm going to do next is actually just go into Reveal and show you guys how you can upload this. So as you know, you probably have your data source already connected to Reveal. What you also need to do to compare accounts is to add a second data source. And typically what you're doing in this instance is you are mapping with one of your partner's data sources. They connect their data source into Reveal as well, and you do the account mapping this way. But if we think about it, instead of having a partner add a data source, you could actually add your own second data source into Reveal. And that's exactly what we're going to do with this list. So typically this use case works really well if, let's say your partner hasn't actually connected their own data source, or they're just got, strict security rules. They can't connect their data source directly. We call this offline account mapping. If you go over to the top right, you click the plus invite new partner button, you can go ahead and instead of inviting a partner that you actually know, you go ahead and add a data source down here. And I'll just go back real quick in case I went too quick. It says if your partner is not on Reveal, you can still do an offline account mapping. You can also do this for random lists, right? So we're going to go ahead and click add data source. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this the Forbes Top 100. And you'll see this coming in as number 2 because I've actually already created one. I'll go ahead and click add to this list. I'll go ahead and click create as well. And then when I do that, it's going to ask me to add either a Google Sheet or a CSV file. You're going to want to scroll to the bottom. And then when I do that, I'll go ahead and click add CSV file. I'm going to call this the Forbes test. I'll pull in my CSV, drop it in, and I'll click upload. Cool. This is the part where it gets a little interesting. As you guys know, you're probably familiar with how mapping works already. You probably have done this in other tools. It's pretty simple here. So we've already created those columns. We'll attach company name to company name. We'll put website to website, status to company status. And we didn't import any other data, but if we go back to the spreadsheet real quick, you can put as many columns as your heart desires. You don't have to do just these 3 columns. So if you have other criteria, such as, for instance, what country they're from, what the postal code is, what city they're from, other stuff that you wanted to add inside Reveal, you totally could. But for simplicity's sake, let's just stick with these top 3. Also, I'll mention that these 3 have an asterisk next to them, so they are required for import. But this is the simplest way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and click save here. And the next stage is going to ask me to go ahead and define what a customer is. So as you remember, if we go back to the spreadsheet, we had this entire column as blank. So that's important to remember when we go into the mapping here. Back on the mapping here, we're going to go ahead and define customers are companies where the company status is blank. So when we import an offline account mapping through a list, we're going to say that every single one of these companies are a customer of them. It's going to make it really simple for account mapping. And then I'm going to go ahead and just click save. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and skip this. Sometimes this could take like 10, 15 minutes, and I don't want to make you guys wait for that. So what I've done is just like a cooking show. Just like a cooking show, I've gone ahead and already created a list before this call. And I'm just going to pull that one up for simplicity's sake, and it's called this right here. So what I'm going to do first is I'll click on it, and what you'll see is actually the new partner overview for Reveal. So with a 10,000 foot view, an early glance, I can see, based off of these top 100 companies that I've imported into Reveal, what are 3 common customers that I have with them? What are 2 open opportunities? And what are 3 of my prospects that are Forbes Top 100 customers? So you'll recognize that it's saying customers here. You can just think of it as it's on the list, right? Because we imported all of them in as customers. So what this first one is saying is really like 3 of these companies on this list are my customers. 2 of them I have an open opportunity with, and 3 of them are overall companies that are prospects, whether or not they have an opportunity or not. Cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into the account mapping here. And you'll see this pop up really quick. So the cool thing is now we're seeing all the overlaps between us and the list. You can see on the left side that Ally Financial is a prospect on our side, with our data source, and it's also attending the event on the other side. There's an open deal here as well. It's at the negotiation stage. So this is really interesting, right?
Darian, where it says customer on account status, is that, do you have to choose a preset field like that, or could you have called that something like event attendee or on Forbes list? Or since this is like a hacky use case that's not the core of Reveal, does it have to be labeled a pre-existing field like customer?
It's a really good question. So as you guys know, with account mapping, we're going to always templatize the data that you have inside of Reveal when you first set up. So we're calling everything a prospect, a customer, or a partner. That's the easiest way for us to be able to do this easy account mapping this way. So yes, it does have to be listed in as a customer because it is this hacky rule. But there is a good point there. What you could do, and what I've done in the past, is actually just make this list a lot cleaner. So I'll go ahead and actually just hide a lot of these columns because they're just not even relevant to me. And this can make it a lot easier for you to see this data in this sense. So
and in this case, you're doing a list of Forbes top 100 places to work. Maybe you're going to do some kind of targeted campaign to them that mentions, hey, congrats, you were on this list, or whatever. Maybe you've got some, but you could also utilize this like say this is people that are about to attend an event. You could also use the exact same process that you just walked us through to put an event registration list through, so that before the event you can prepare whoever is going to be attending the event. Here are the customers we have, here are the open opportunities we have that are going to be present, all the same type of stuff, right?
Yeah, that's a really great point, Isaac. Thanks for bringing that up. So yeah, there's so many different use cases for it. If we play like a little bit of pretend over here, let's say for instance, we work at an HR company and our software might be interesting for companies that already are invested a lot into their employee engagement and their employee engagement scores. So what I want to do is reach out to the Forbes top 100 places to work and perhaps just congratulate them on having been on the list. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking that list and I want to see, in this case, how many of them are already our customers and how many of them are not. But if we take another angle, just like you said, Isaac, if we take the event angle, which I love this use case, is let's say, for instance, this list is actually a list of Forbes top 100 places to work. And all of these companies that are on this list are actually sponsors of an event hosted by Forbes. And I'm thinking about going to this event. And before I go to the event, I want to be able to see a couple of things. One, does it even make sense for me to go to the event? Yes or no? Two, who should I send to the event? So using this use case right here, what I can see early on is that it looks like we have Taylor Martin, who is one of our CSMs. I can see because both of these accounts are our customer, has two of their accounts actually going to the event. So it might be interesting to send Taylor to the event. I can also see that Jamie's got a deal in negotiation. So maybe if this deal is right there at the finish line and isn't getting closed, it might make sense to get Jamie to go to the event to just meet some people in person. So this is a really interesting use case for that. But my take on this, we only have three accounts that are going to the event that are in open pipeline. It probably doesn't make sense for us to actually invest a lot of resources in here. Maybe just send Jamie and Taylor, maybe send Dave as well, but it doesn't really make much sense to sponsor an event like this. Cool. Isaac, I don't know if there's a follow-up question there, if I should just continue.
No, continue, go right ahead. I love it. I just was, as you're walking through this, it's like my imagination is starting to go with all the different types of lists that you can do this with, and all the different ways that you could, utilize that information. So I love it. Keep rolling.
Whatever your heart desires, Isaac. Whatever your heart desires. Cool. So as you know, Reveal makes it really easy to not only just see the mapping back and forth, but the cool thing about Reveal is to be able to actually slice and dice this information exactly for the use cases you're going for. So I'll be honest, this list is pretty small. It's not that extensive, but imagine if you had like a list of 1,000 different companies. It would be really hard to go through all of them. And so a really good example of doing this on Reveal is by using the quick filters here at the top. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to just see all the accounts in a single glance that are my customers that are going to the event. And yeah, just give it 1 second, guys. There we go. I can see here that these are the 3 accounts that I have as a customer right now, and they're attending the event. We got the Federal Savings Group, Deluxe Corporation, and Virgin Money. But let's say I'm thinking more in the new business sense, and I want to go after accounts that are net new for me. A really good filter for that is my prospects versus customers. And sorry for this, guys. It's just taking a little bit, I think. It's waking up a little bit. There we go. We can see 3 companies that are in my CRM right now. I haven't had them as a customer yet, but it would be really interesting for me to make them as a customer. And they're going to this event. And then the last one is partners, customers not in my CRM. So there's going to be 38 other companies going to this event that are not a customer of yours, and they're not even in your CRM. So they're not even on your radar. So let's say, for instance, we're going back to the HR use case again. I want to go after companies that have high employee engagement scores, but for some reason, I don't even have all of the Forbes top 100 places to work. This is now my list of accounts that I need to be using to start prospecting to. It's fresh new accounts. And the really great part of this, if you remember in the beginning of this presentation, I talked about how can you dedupe your accounts before you import them into your CRM. What I can do here now is actually take this list of accounts and import them in Reveal, because what Reveal is doing, import them into your CRM rather, because what Reveal is doing is we're already finding all of those matches with what's inside of your CRM, and whatever doesn't match is going to come into this list. So these are accounts that you know are not going to create duplicates inside of your CRM. So in order to do that, I'll go ahead and just select all of them, and I can go ahead and export all of them directly into Salesforce. Cool. So that is the initial part of the account mapping use case. I'll pause again for some questions, and if there are none, I can continue.
So when you exported those into Salesforce, what are they getting? Like, are they getting tagged as something in particular by default?
Really good question. So right now, I haven't set it up that way. But if we go back to our spreadsheet, and I mentioned you can add extra columns here, you could do the exact same thing in this stage. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to say, lead source, and then I type in event, and I'll just drag this all the way down. Yeah, you can go ahead and type event here, and then go back into Reveal when you do that first account mapping. Just give me a sec as I set this up. What you'll see is these other columns. You can go ahead and add these extra columns into Reveal. I haven't done this in the past view, but you can kind of get the concept there. You can add additional columns over here. And if we go back into the account mapping, you'll click this button up here called columns, and you'll be able to import in the partner field section additional columns too. So there'll be one here called lead source, and you'll be able to pull in lead source just like you did from earlier. So let's just go ahead and say like account status. I don't even know if there's anything inside there. Yeah, okay, account status. We know there's something inside there. And so this would be the event lead source. When you go ahead and export this into your, or rather import this into your CRM, what you're going to do is you're going to have that field assigned to a field inside of your CRM so that it's automatically tagged with that campaign.
Cool. Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay, thanks, Isaac. And yeah, I know I got a little bit technical there. I promise. I promise you guys I wouldn't. But if you have any questions, I'm always available. You guys can reach out to me, and I can help you walk. I can help walk you through this. Cool. So that's how you'll be able to import a list that's not deduped. But what's also interesting is finding a way to track the ROI post-event. So we can actually do this inside of Reveal too. You don't have to put them inside of your CRM if you don't want to. An interesting way to do this is to, let's say, for instance, I wanted to go to all of the accounts that are in my CRM, but are also going to the event. What I can do is I'll just take these 3 accounts and I'll add them to my pipeline. And what this will do is it'll now create a list of all of the accounts that are going to the event in a single view for me to be able to track with it. So for this use case, I think a couple of things are interesting is the activity date. So I can go ahead and add an activity date to this and just say it was, today. And I can do this for all of them so that I can filter by this activity date at some point in the future. I could also go ahead and add a comment here. For instance, while I was at the event, I spoke to Isaac. I don't know how to spell on my keyboard. And you can go ahead and add that comment inside of there. But the really most interesting part is to be able to attach your opportunities to these accounts inside of Reveal. So that when I have an opportunity here, it's going to show up inside this last column. And you can see that there's already this deal here at 260K. And at a high level view, you'll be able to see how much pipeline has been created from this one event, how much has been sourced by it, how much has been influenced by it, and other. And so we're defining this one in this case as influence because there was already an opportunity existing. These two, if an opportunity is created following the event, will be marked as in the source section. And the best part is that when this deal does get closed, we're going to actually see this move from purple over here to green. It's going to move from the pipeline section over to the closed one section so that you can track the success of this specific event. Cool. One last use case I want to show you guys, and then we'll wrap up. Goes back to 360 mapping, my favorite tool. So let's say, for instance, I'm going into an event and I want to bring this back to partnerships. And I want to do a co-marketing sponsorship an event, or I want to maybe just bring a partner along as I go to the event. 360 mapping is really cool for this. So we've imported an offline account mapping already. And what I want to be able to see is which one of my partners also have them as a customer, or maybe also has an open opportunity there. Which one of my partners can I tag team while I'm at the event? And this is the way to do it. So you can go ahead and see you have the 360 mapping here. You have this column for is customer of. I'll hit the filter button. And what I want to do is select the Forbes list that I just created. I'll filter it down, and there's only one here. This is a demo instance, so forgive me, guys. But you can see the example is great. I can see in this case that Ally Financial Inc. is also a customer of Levenue Intersect Skull. And I have them as a prospect. I have an open deal here. So maybe I can find out if one of my other partners like Levenue or Intersect is going to the event, and they can introduce me in person to this person and help me get this deal closed or even sourced. Really awesome use case there.
Yeah, I love that. We talk all the time about the 3 eyes of a Nearbound strategy, right? Which is tapping into people your buyers already know and trust for intel, intros, and influence, and the ability to say, okay, here are all the accounts at this event that we're going to be talking to, but let me see which of my partners already have a relationship there, so that ahead of time going to them and saying, hey, I'm hoping to talk with this person at this event. I see that they're a customer of yours. Would you be willing to introduce me when we're there? Or, should we meet with them together? Or like being able to pull that in, those small little details. I mean, that could be the difference between, somebody being super excited to meet with you and saying, yeah, let's set up a time to meet during the event, and it feeling like a cold outreach from some salesperson, right? So I love it. I think it's such a, it's like that's the way that people want to buy and want to operate in life, is through people they trust, and being able to do this at scale to prepare for an event ahead of time for this. So cool. It's such a fun use case that I had actually never thought of, Darian, until you started showing me this. Kind of blew my mind. So,
and here we are. Love it. We're showing other people now too. It's cool. Well, thanks, Isaac. That's all I got, honestly. This can go a million different ways. As I said, it's what your heart desires. Think about literally any list you want to bring into Reveal. A good example of how we're being very creative about this at Reveal is, as you know, we're working in the partnership space. And so whenever we want to work at a top tier type of company, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and find the ISV marketplace for that company. We'll take the list of all the companies that are in that marketplace, and we'll import them into Reveal, do this exact same exercise, find out which one of them are already on Reveal, which ones are not, which ones we have open opportunities with, and just start creating the network around that top company before we get in. So that's just one use case. This can go a million different ways. Hope it kind of spurs some imagination.
And who has relationships with our partners that we can tap into in those processes. So I love it. Very, very cool. Any questions, pop them in the chat. If not, it's fine. We'll wrap up early, but if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and feel free to chat those. Also, always an open door if you're exploring some of these use cases, or if you want to get this recording, we'll share it with you and you can send it. If there's somebody else in your company, maybe somebody on your marketing team, or your field, your field team for events that you want to show this to, we're happy to help them be able to use this. Most of the things, Darian, that you went through today are available on the free plan, I think, except for the 360-degree mapping, right?
Yeah, that's accurate. So 360 mapping. Let me just kind of set the stage on that one, where the boundaries are. 360 mapping is not available on free. You also cannot export directly into your CRM like I did earlier, with the deduping use case. And then you're limited to only having 3 account mappings on Reveal in the free version. So once you pass 3 of these, you're going to get to the 4th one. That's when you got to upgrade.
Got it. Okay, love it. Well, look forward to seeing what other creative uses you come up with on on these different these sort of off the beaten path list imports. So appreciate everybody for coming by. As I said before, we'll have this recording. We'll send it around to you, and all of the recordings from all these previous sessions as well are available on the. I'm trying to remember the URL. I'm gonna have to find that URL. We got to come up with one that's easier to remember. I think they're under. I don't even remember what they're under. I'll find that. But if you've registered for this, you'll get emailed those links. We do have a question. It looks like. No, it's just Hope saying they're also on YouTube. That's right. That's the easiest place to find them. They're all on YouTube, on our Reveal YouTube channel, and we have a playlist for Nearbound at Work. So next week we're doing a beginning of a 2-part series. We'll skip the week of the 4th of July, but we're bringing on Logan Lyles on basically building a Nearbound marketing motion and the phases involved in that. And some of them are more typical marketing stuff, defining your ICP, et cetera. But some of them get into some really interesting and sophisticated ways to bring in influence from partners and others that your buyers trust in the process. So I'm looking forward to that. That's definitely going to be more higher level on the marketing side. So like anybody in your marketing team, or if you're doing partner marketing, definitely of interest. And then I'm not sure what we have coming up after that, but I think we'll probably get into the weeds a little bit more with some more product use cases. So thanks everybody. Yeah, Andrea just shared the link to YouTube in the chat if you're interested in finding previous sessions. So thanks for coming. Nearbound at Work. I'm here in Paris, and apparently there's like a music festival today because they're blaring music everywhere. So I got to go. I don't know. I guess I have to go dance or do karaoke or something. So Darian, thanks for coming on with us. And until next time, we'll see everybody later.
See ya. Thanks.